Hello Year 7, remember me? I'm going to try and do video lessons from now on. Hopefully they'll work. If they don't, you'll put that horrible thumbs down sign on YouTube. Right, so last week, sorry, I hope you're all okay. You're doing okay and kind of enjoying the lockdown. Kind of not enjoying the lockdown, but I hope you're all okay. Right, last week I asked you to read pages 15 and 16, I think, of it's the opening of the Beowulf story. The significance of Beowulf is it's one of the first stories that we have a written record of, which is one of the reasons why we're studying it. So we learnt of the story of Shield Sheafson, who became a powerful ruler in what we would call Denmark. He had a son, Beowulf, and he had a son. Also, from Shield Chieftain onward, his children became the ruler of the Danish kingdom. His first son was Beowulf, who died, and then had a son called Halfdane, and eventually Hrothgar was the leader of the tribe, the ruler of the tribe. So we're now concerned with Hrothgar. So I would like you to read, please, pages 18, 19 and 20. Sorry if you keep looking down, I'm looking at the booklet. And in this section we learn about Hrothgar. Now Hrothgar is a very powerful king, very popular king and leader. And he builds a great mead hall, so somewhere to hold all the tribe celebrations, somewhere where everybody gets together, and it's called Heorot. And in this scene, we're introduced to the creature, the monster Grendel, who lives in the swamps outside of the village. And in this scene, he's described as a satanic, evil creature, physically repulsive, and he so hates the celebrations that he overhears from the marshes that he comes to the mead hall called Heorot and basically just kills a load of them, ripping them apart, ripping limbs apart. It's just blood everywhere. And if you watch the film version, I sent you a clip on the email for last week's lessons. Then you'll see it's a pretty savage attack, and he kills almost everybody in the hall. So that's what you should have read. If you haven't yet, read it now, and before I explain to you what we're going to do. Okay, 3 pages read. This is what we're going to do. This is called analysis. We've done this, I think we've done this once before, with one of the Greek myths. But this is quite an important thing, analysis, because it's what you're going to have to do an awful lot of in your GCSE English exams. So, we don't want to worry too much about that, but it's something that you definitely need to learn to do. So you're going to try and answer the question, how does the poet present Grendel as an evil creature? And the poet does definitely present Grendel as an abominably evil creature. So I'm not sure whether you remember, but this is how I've done an example here to show you what to do. Then I want you to have a go with 2 quotes that I've chosen for you. So the basic structure is you have a point, then you have a quote, then all this below the quote is called analysis. So I will explain what you've got to do, and then you're going to have a go yourself. Let's start with the quote. So the question is, how does the poet present Grendel as an evil creature? So you've got to choose a quote that shows Grendel is evil. And suddenly the god-cursed brute was creating havoc. Now, I hope you agree, a god-cursed brute that creates havoc generally can be described as evil. So I've chosen the right quote. Number one, I've chosen the right quote. The point, so I chose the quote first because that's the first thing you've got to do. Then add the point afterwards. The point, there's a cursor here. I think you see a nice yellow circle. It's gone. There it is. Hello. The point, all the point does, it just describes what's happening in the quote. So in this quote, the writer is describing Grendel's attack on Hrothgar. So it's nothing more complicated than that. What is happening in the quote? What does the writer describe? You could make it a bit more detailed. So, for example, the writer describes Grendel's violent attack on Hrothgar, or the writer describes the start of Grendel's attack on Hrothgar. But you're just trying to explain in the point what's being described in the quote. And that needs to be no more than one sentence. Right, here's the tricky bit. You will find this hard probably. Most Year 7s will find this hard. But have a go and I will send feedback to each of you on how you've got on. Or if you're having a go and you get stuck, then email me for any help at all. So what you need to do first, you need to try and zoom in on specific words and show how those words, explain how those words show that Grendel is evil. Analysis really means, why does the writer choose certain words? And what is the effect of those words? Writers could choose any words at all that they like. Your job here is to explain why they choose those specific words and what effect those words have. So we're zooming in on suddenly. What does suddenly suggest? Well, if something happens suddenly, it's happening immediately, it can take people by surprise, and as it says here, it's quick and unexpected. So all you're doing is saying, what does suddenly suggest? But you're adding a little bit. If you just say suddenly suggest quick and unexpected, you could be talking about a football match, a fire, or anything. So you've got to add your specific knowledge of what's happening in the quote. So what is quick and unexpected? It's Grendel's attack. So there's two things. You're saying what the word suddenly suggests, but you're also adding your specific knowledge of the text, which is that it's Grendel's attack being described. So if you look, we've got suddenly. What does it suggest? It takes the villagers by surprise, it's quick, and it's unexpected. So we've said three things about the word suddenly, and we've said that it's Grendel's attack that is quick and unexpected. Once you've zoomed in once, you need to get into the habit of zooming in on other words or other phrases. Zooming in just means picking one word or two or three words that you think you can explain what they suggest. So the next one we're going to zoom in on is here, God cursed brute. If there are any words you don't understand, just use the dictionary. Obviously you can't analyse words if you don't know what they mean. So for example, if you didn't know what brute meant or havoc meant, then just look in the dictionary and that should help you analyse the words. That should help you explain what the words suggest. So God cursed brute. Well, if something's cursed by God, that implies that it's evil because God represents good. And it also implies that it might be devilish. And here I've used the word satanic rather than devilish. If it creates havoc, then that suggests it has immense strength. It's powerful. So, God cursed brute is the quote. And we've said it suggests that Grendel is an evil satanic creature with immense physical strength. The word brute suggests physical strength. It could also suggest violence, and it could also suggest its power, but I've stuck with immense physical strength. We're going to zoom in just once more. So we've zoomed in 3 times. The reason we zoom in is to make our analysis as detailed as possible, because that's always going to get you a higher level in English. If you've just got one sentence of analysis, you're going to get a lower mark than if you've zoomed in several times, because that means you understand, you've been able to explain more of the writer's words. So havoc, and remember what I said, if you don't understand a word, just look online in the dictionary. So havoc means causing chaos, disorder. So we've zoomed in for the third time here on the word havoc. And notice how sometimes you zoom in on one word like havoc or suddenly, and sometimes you zoom in on more than one word. You zoom in on a phrase such as here, where we zoom in on God cursed brute. So there's no rules, you've just got to zoom in on what you think is important. So havoc, what does havoc suggest? Havoc suggests his attack caused chaos and panic. And remember, anybody that's looked in the dictionary could say, well, havoc suggests chaos and panic. What you have to do is add your extra knowledge of where it's creating chaos and panic. So you have to add your knowledge of what you've actually read. And the chaos and panic here is caused in the mead hall, Herod. So let's look at what we've done there. We've taken the word havoc. We've said two things it suggests. That havoc suggests that the attack caused chaos and panic, and we've combined that with our specific knowledge. So what caused chaos and panic? His attack. Where did it cause it? In the mead hall. So that's what analysis is really. It's no more complicated than choose a word or words that you think are important and answer the question. The question here is about Grendel being evil, and just explain what they suggest. Suddenly suggests it's by surprise, but remember to use your specific knowledge of the text. Don't just say suddenly suggests surprise. Explain what causes surprise. Here it's Grendel's attack. And one last tip, you'll see I've underlined these words, and these are to help you. These are called analytical phrases. These are to help you develop the skill of analysis. So what you need to try and do, whenever you've got a quote here, such as suddenly, it's got the word suggests after it. Here, God cursed brute has the word implies, which is very similar to suggests. And here, havoc has the word suggests afterwards. Always use one of these analytical phrases after the word you're analysing, and that should help you to make sure that you're actually analysing. What Year 7s normally do, and a lot of you will end up doing this, and I'll feedback and just tell you and show you how to improve it. But what Year 7s often end up doing is just telling the story. So they might say Grendel is evil because he attacks the village and causes chaos. That's just telling me the story. That's not analysis. Analysis actually says why the writer uses the words and what effect they have. So if you can use these analytical phrases, that should help you a lot. Okay, on to the next slide. These are the two quotes I would like you to analyse. Up we come. There we go. So this description is before Grendel attacks the mead hall, Herod. This is when we're first introduced to him. So Grendel was the name of this grim demon, haunting the marches, marauding around the heath and the desolate fens. I've underlined the words you might want to go away and check the definition of here. Fens means marshes. Where's the cursor? He had dwelt means lived in for a time, in misery among the banished monsters. So it's suggested here that Grendel has lived in the marshes outside of Heorot for quite a while, with other monsters that have been banished to live there. So you've got to zoom in on 2 or 3 bits of this quote, and you have got to explain how the words suggest that Grendel is evil. So keep going back to the previous slide, keep going back to the hints I've given you. and you should aim for something similar in terms of size. There we go, to what I've written there. And remember to follow that structure: point, quote, analysis. Then the second quote I want you to analyse is when Grendel, he's grabbed a load of the soldiers, the villagers, whilst he's in the mead hall, and taken them back. Some of them are not as complete human beings as they were at the start of the party, if you know what I mean. He's got some bits and pieces, not whole bodies. So flushed up and inflamed from the raid. Again, you might want to look at what those words mean. Just look at it in the dictionary. Blundering back with the butchered corpses. Corpses are the dead bodies. So he's grabbed some and taken them back to the marshes. So again, you're going to have to zoom in on 2 or 3 things in that quote and explain what they suggest and how they show that Grendel is evil. Keep going back to the video, have a go. I'm not expecting, after 2 months off, I'm not expecting something brilliant. Having said that, because you're working on your own, I've not expected something brilliant for most of the work I've set, but so many of you have actually sent in a brilliant work. I'm thinking especially of the descriptive writing pieces. So many of you have sent in work that, compared to what you did at the start of Year 7, is amazing, and it will give me a bit of a headache when we have to think about set moves for Year 8, because the work many of you have been sending in, the descriptive work, is superb, so thanks for that. So I'm not expecting anything amazing on this. This is harder than descriptive writing, I know that, and if you get stuck or if you want any help at all, then please email me and I'll do my best to help. Okay, have a nice week. Speak to you soon.